In the latest Jujutsu Kaisen Modulo Chapter, the story quietly dropped one of the most unsettling reveals we've seen in a long time. A new form of Rika has appeared, but this time, something is very different. Rika isn't just being summoned, she isn't standing behind a sorcerer protecting them from the shadows like she once did with Yuta. Instead, Rika is fused directly with Tsurugi. Her presence wraps around his body, merges with his form, and turns him into something that doesn't feel like a sorcerer anymore, but a living curse wearing a human shell. And that single visual alone changes everything we thought we understood about Rika's limits. Because up until now, Rika's power has always been external. She fought for someone. She acted beside them. But this fusion suggests a version of Rika that doesn't just support a user, she becomes the user. So the real question isn't just how strong is this fusion, it's what kind of monster does this create. In this video, we're going to break down what the Rika plus Tsurugi fusion actually means, how Tsurugi's heavenly restriction fundamentally changes the rules of cursed combat, and whether this version of Rika could surpass base Rika at her absolute peak. We'll also compare this fusion directly to Yuta's bond with Rika, explain why this form might exist only because Tsurugi has zero cursed energy, and explore what kind of abilities, limitations, and terrifying consequences could come from this merger. Because if Rika was already known as the Queen of Curses, then fusing her with someone who doesn't rely on cursed energy at all might create something far worse than a curse. It might create the perfect weapon. Now, the first thing a lot of people have been asking is very simple. How is Rika back at all? And more importantly, what kind of power does this new Rika actually have? Because the moment you see her fuse with Tsurugi, the immediate assumption is that this is the same Rika we saw with Yuta. And if that's the case, then the next question naturally becomes, does Tsurugi also have access to Yuta's copy technique? So let's break this down properly. First, I don't think this version of Rika should be treated as a curse anymore. And the reason I say that is because the way she's being used here follows rules that apply far more cleanly to Shikigami, not vengeful curses. If you remember the early chapters of JJK Modulo, we saw Yuka using divine dog-style claw techniques directly through her own body. She wasn't summoning the Shikigami and commanding it from a distance, she was channeling its abilities through herself. And this isn't a one-off example either. We've seen Sukuna do something very similar with Max Elephant, where instead of fully manifesting the Shikigami, he used its water output directly through his hands. These moments establish an important rule in Jujutsu Kaisen. Shikigami abilities can be partially or fully integrated into the user's body. Their techniques can flow through the sorcerer themselves, but curses don't work like that. Yuta never truly fused with Rika when she was a curse. She fought for him, she stored cursed energy for him, she supported him externally, but she never became his body. So when we see Rika wrapping around Tsurugi, merging with his physical form and moving as one entity, that's not how curses are typically used, that's how Shikigami integration works. Which leads me to believe that this Rika is no longer a vengeful curse in the traditional sense, but a Shikigami-like existence that evolved from one. And if that's true, it also answers another big question. No, this does not mean Tsurugi automatically gains Yuta's copy technique. Yuta's copying ability is his innate curse technique, not Rika's. Rika functioned as a storage and amplification system, but the copying itself belonged to Yuta alone. So this fusion isn't about copying techniques, it's about rewriting how Rika's power is expressed. Instead of acting as an external curse, she's now functioning as an internalized entity, one that enhances Tsurugi's physicality, perception, and combat potential directly. And when you combine that with heavenly restriction, that's where things start to get truly dangerous. Now let's talk about Tsurugi himself. We already know that Tsurugi has zero cursed energy, but in exchange, he possesses a heavenly restriction, the same kind we've seen with Toji and Maki. That alone makes him an absolute monster in close combat. His physical strength, speed, instincts, and durability are all pushed far beyond what a normal sorcerer could ever reach. In pure hand-to-hand combat, Tsurugi doesn't need cursed energy to be lethal, but strength alone doesn't guarantee victory. During his fight with Maru, we clearly see that Tsurugi is slowly being pushed into the losing side. Not because he's weak, but because Maru's abilities operate on a level that even heavenly restriction can't brute force forever. And that's when everything changes. As Tsurugi is pushed to the brink, we hear Rika's voice for the first time. She sounds irritated, almost disgusted. She says, "Ah, this is the worst. You really took after that woman." And while it's not stated outright, it's hard not to connect that line to Maki, someone who also rejected cursed energy, chose raw physical power, and in many ways represents everything Rika finds frustrating. It almost feels like Rika is still carrying some unresolved anger toward Yuta's choices, or at least the people who remind her of them, but then her tone shifts. She follows it up by saying something far more important. But since this is Yuta's request, I'll help you. That single line confirms two massive things. First, Rika is still bound to Yuta's will, even if she's no longer acting as his direct weapon. And second, this fusion isn't happening because Tsurugi forced it. It's happening because Rika agreed. She then gives Tsurugi one condition: say accept. No complex incantation, no long vow explanation, just consent. And the moment Tsurugi accepts, we witness something we've never truly seen before in Jujutsu Kaisen. Rika doesn't manifest beside him. She wraps around him. Her cursed form overlaps with his body, reinforcing his frame, synchronizing with his movements, and turning two separate existences into a single combat entity. This isn't a summoning. This isn't possession. This is fusion. A heavenly restricted body acting as the perfect vessel, and a queen of curses, now acting like a Shikigami, finally finding a way to express her power without being limited by cursed energy flow. And in that moment, Tsurugi stops fighting like a human. He starts fighting like Rika herself. Now let's finally talk about the power level of this fusion. And honestly, this part isn't even debatable. The moment Rika fuses with Tsurugi, this entity instantly enters special grade territory. There's no realistic argument against that. On one side, you have Rika, an existence repeatedly described as having virtually unlimited cursed energy. On the other side, you have Tsurugi, someone with zero cursed energy, but a heavenly restricted body on the same level as Toji and Maki. That combination alone is already absurd, because heavenly restriction removes the natural limits placed on the human body. It creates physical strength, speed, reflexes, and durability that rival or even surpass high-level cursed techniques. So if we're talking purely about raw physical power, this fusion should already be operating at Toji level or higher, but now backed by Rika's cursed energy reserves. That means no stamina issues, no energy management, no drawback from overexertion. It's brute force backed by an endless fuel source, and that's before we even talk about techniques, because another huge possibility here is the emergence of an entirely new curse technique, one that exists only because of this fusion. This wouldn't be Yuta's copy technique, and it wouldn't be Rika's original curse abilities either. It would be something born from the overlap of a heavenly restricted body, a Shikigami like Rika, and a binding agreement between the two. We'll need future chapters to confirm exactly what that technique looks like, but the groundwork is clearly being laid. Now here's where things get controversial. I personally think this fusion could be stronger than Yuta. Not because Yuta is weak, far from it, but because this form removes many of the limitations Yuta still has. There's no reliance on cursed energy output from the body, no casting delay, no separation between user and weapon. This is power and body acting as one. That said, if you disagree with me at any point here, let me know in the comments. I read everything and I reply to as many as I can. And yeah, if you enjoyed this breakdown, we're extremely close to 100 subscribers, and every single one genuinely means a lot. So if you want more JJK theories like this, consider subscribing.